Are you struggling to come up with profitable book ideas that actually sell on Amazon KDP? What if I told you that the perfect books already exist? They're completely free to use, and most publishers are completely ignoring this goldmine. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you how to turn timeless classics into consistent passive income streams using a strategy that 99% of KDP publishers have never even considered. You see, while everyone's fighting over saturated niches and trying to come up with the next big book idea, there's an entire library of proven bestsellers just sitting there waiting for someone smart enough to grab them. I'm talking about public domain books, works whose copyright has expired, making them free for anyone to use, adapt, and yes, sell on Amazon KDP. Now, I'll be honest with you, I used to advise against this strategy. I saw too many lazy publishers doing copy-paste jobs, flooding Amazon with terrible quality books that gave the whole approach a bad name. But recently, I've been studying some incredibly creative publishers who are using public domain works in ways that are generating serious revenue. And I mean serious revenue. So in this video, you're going to learn exactly what qualifies as public domain and how to verify it safely without risking your account. I'll show you the 3 Amazon-approved methods to differentiate your editions so they actually sell. We'll dive deep into how to identify which public domain works have the highest earning potential, because not all classics are created equal when it comes to making money. I'll share some brilliant examples of publishers who are doing this right, making thousands of dollars per month. Then I'll walk you through the complete step-by-step process to create your own high-value edition. And finally, I'll show you the 4 critical mistakes that could get your KDP account terminated if you don't know about them. But first, let me show you why this opportunity is bigger than you think.
The world is made up of people with either killer instincts or without killer instincts. And the people that seem to emerge are the people that are competitive and driven and with a certain instinct to win.
See, most people think public domain publishing is just copy and paste, but they're wrong. The publishers making serious money from this strategy aren't just republishing, they're transforming these classics into something completely new and valuable. But let's take it back a bit. So what exactly is a public domain book? Simply put, it's a book whose copyright has either expired or it was never protected by copyright in the first place. Now, the rules vary depending on what country you're in, but if you're in the United States, here's how it generally works. If a book was published before 1978, it's usually protected for 95 years. If the book was created after 1977, then it's protected for the life of the author plus 70 years. In 2025, anything published in 1929 or earlier is now free to use in the United States. We're talking about an enormous library that includes classic novels like Pride and Prejudice, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, and The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. We're talking timeless nonfiction like Walden and the Science of Getting Rich, poetry collections, fairy tales, and philosophical works. This content isn't just free to read, it's free to adapt, free to modify. And most importantly for you, it's free to sell legally on Amazon KDP. And there's already existing demand for this content. People are actively searching for and purchasing these works on Amazon right now. And here's the thing, every single year, hundreds of new works are being added to the public domain. So it's going to be really hard to run out of material that you can potentially use. We're talking about an enormous, constantly growing library of proven content. Now, I know what you're thinking. If these books are free, why would anyone buy them? That's exactly the wrong question. The right question is, how can I make these free books so valuable that people will pay premium prices for my version? Smart publishers see public domain and think, how can I make this even better? Because here's the secret. People aren't buying the book. They're buying the experience, the presentation, and the additional value you provide. And that's where the real money is made. Now, here's where most public domain publishers fail completely. They think they can just copy and paste a classic novel, slap a new cover on it, and start making money. Amazon sees right through this, and more importantly, customers hate it. Amazon has specific guidelines for public domain publishing, and they've made it crystal clear they want differentiated works. Not copies, not reprints, but genuinely improved versions that add real value. There are exactly 3 ways Amazon approves for differentiating public domain works, and each one opens up different profit opportunities. The first is annotations. This is where you add meaningful text to enhance the original work. Think study guides, introductions, literary critiques, author biographies, or commentary that helps readers understand and appreciate the work better. But annotations don't have to be academic. I've seen publishers add recipe collections to Jane Austen novels, survival guides to adventure classics, and philosophical discussions to poetry collections. Think creatively. The second way to differentiate is through illustrations. Whether you're an artist or you're using AI image generators, adding visual elements transforms the entire reading experience. This is especially powerful for children's books, poetry, and instructional content. The illustration strategy is exploding right now because of AI tools. Publishers are creating stunning visual interpretations of classic poems, turning them into coffee table books that sell for $25 to $40 instead of $2.99. The third way is by offering an original translation. If you speak multiple languages, this is your goldmine. Translate works from other languages to English, or take English classics and translate them into other languages. Now, something very important to note is when you publish your differentiated version, you must include the differentiation type in your title. So instead of just Pride and Prejudice, it becomes Pride and Prejudice Annotated or Pride and Prejudice Illustrated. And when you're setting up your book through KDP, there's going to be a checkbox where you indicate either that you have the copyright for this work or that this is a public domain work. You must tick the box that says, this is a public domain work. When you do that, you'll notice you're only eligible for the 35% royalty instead of the usual 70%. Now, I think this is completely fair considering the bulk of the work has already been created by somebody else. But if you create a beautiful, high-value edition of a public domain work that's actually in demand, you're still going to make good money from this. A well-differentiated public domain book selling 100 copies at $15.99 makes more profit than most regular KDP books selling 20 copies at $9.99. Now, let me show you some brilliant examples of public domain publishing done right, because this will spark ideas for your own projects. The first example I absolutely love is Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice, but someone updated it and called it Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice, a book-to-table classic. They created a beautifully updated hardcover edition, turned the interior full color, but here's the differentiator. They included complimentary tea time recipes throughout the book. Think about this strategically. They've taken a beloved classic and made it into a collector's item for Jane Austen fans. The recipes don't just add value, they create an entirely new reading experience that justifies a premium price point. The second example really opened my eyes to the potential here. I was at the library with my kids a couple of weeks ago, and I came across this illustrated version of a classic Robert Frost poem called Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening. An illustrator named Vivian Miniker took this classic Robert Frost poem and added her own beautiful illustrations throughout. Now, what I love about what this illustrator did is that not only has she elevated the original work by pairing it with incredible artwork, she's actually targeting a completely different audience. Most kids aren't reading Robert Frost poems, but now it's presented in this beautiful way with illustrations that make it accessible for children. She's also done the same thing with The Road Not Taken, also by Robert Frost. So she's found one successful approach and applied it to multiple works. This is brilliant public domain publishing done right. Now, I wanted to see what other creative ideas were possible. So I actually asked ChatGPT to brainstorm some concepts. I fed it a few names of classic public domain works and asked for creative ways to add value. The responses I got were incredibly creative. For Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, it suggested creating build your own monster STEM activities. The concept would be a Gothic classroom edition of Frankenstein with DIY STEM projects like creating simple electrical circuits or inventing your own monster character with prompts. For the poems of Emily Dickinson, it suggested pairing them with a guided poetry coloring book, a creative, meditative book pairing Dickinson's short poems with hand-drawn illustrations and floral patterns for coloring, plus space for readers to write their own poems. For Walt Whitman's Leaves of Grass, the idea was to create nature walk reflections, a poetic nature journal pairing select Whitman poems with guided outdoor activities like leaf rubbing, sketching, and personal reflections. The one that really caught my attention is a Grimm's Fairy Tales plus a shadow work journal. Shadow work journals have really picked up steam over the last couple of years. The concept here would be dark fairy tales paired with introspective journaling prompts about personal fears, childhood beliefs, and self-reflection, all in a mystical, moody design targeting adults interested in self-discovery. Notice what's working in these examples. We're taking timeless classics and pairing them with something that's popular right now, like prompted journals or coloring books. We're also retargeting these classic works to different audiences. The Robert Frost book took adult poetry and made it accessible to children. The Grimm's Fairy Tales idea does the opposite, taking something originally for kids and repurposing it for adults. So this brings us to the crucial question: how do you identify which public domain books actually have earning potential? Because not all classics are going to make you money on Amazon. Most people just pick their favorite classic and hope it sells. That's backwards. Smart publishers use data to identify which public domain works already have proven demand. So, the first step is knowing where to find legitimate public domain works. You want to stick to trusted sources like Project Gutenberg, Google Books, HathiTrust, the Internet Archive, and the Library of Congress. You always want to double check that the books are actually in the public domain. Never assume. They should be clearly marked as public domain on the listing. Don't take any chances here because using copyrighted material could get your account terminated. Now, once you've got a short list of potential books, here's how you validate whether there's actually demand for them. Head over to Amazon and type the name of that book in Amazon's search bar. Look at the existing editions and scroll down to the book details to check out the bestsellers rank. If that bestsellers rank is around 100,000 or even 200,000 or less, you know that book is selling at least semi-regularly, and there's potential for you to make money. If you see a bestsellers rank of over 500,000, that book probably isn't selling much and might not be worth your time. You can also use a paid tool like Publisher Rocket if you want to get more detailed data. Publisher Rocket shows you the actual estimated number of monthly searches a particular book is getting. So you'll know if 100 people are searching for it versus 1,000 or 10,000. That's a great way to gauge just how in demand that particular book really is. The difference between 100 searches and 10,000 searches per month is the difference between pocket change and serious income. But here's the most important step, and this is where most people fail. You need to figure out how you're going to add genuine value. How are you going to elevate this original work into something that's even better than what's currently available? Start by thinking about designing a new custom cover that stands out from the basic editions already on Amazon. Consider updating the formatting to make things more readable, maybe using different fonts, better spacing, more professional layout. Look at what's already available. Are there only basic reprints? That's your opportunity. Are there already high quality annotated or illustrated versions? You might want to find a different book or a unique angle. You can also think about writing an introduction that provides historical context or explains why this work is still relevant today. You could add a biography of the author, commentary on the themes, discussion questions for book clubs, chapter summaries, or study guides for students. And here's where you can get really creative. Remember that Pride and Prejudice example with the tea recipes? Think about what would be the perfect complement for fans of your chosen work. If you're having trouble coming up with ideas, ask ChatGPT. Tell it you want to republish a specific public domain work and you want to make it incredibly valuable to fans of the original. Ask for examples of additional content you could include to make it really compelling. For illustrations, you could create hand-drawn artwork, use AI-generated images, add photographs that complement the text, create infographics that explain complex concepts, or design maps and diagrams that enhance understanding. The key is to think about your target audience. Who would be interested in this work, and what would make their reading experience even better? Can you target a different audience than the original work was intended for? That's often where the biggest opportunities lie. Anyone can add a basic introduction or throw in some illustrations, but the publishers making real money are thinking 3 steps ahead about how to create genuine value that justifies premium pricing. Remember, you're not just republishing a book, you're creating a product that serves readers better than existing options. Now, before we wrap up, I need to cover the 4 critical mistakes that could get your KDP account terminated. These are serious, so pay close attention. Mistake number 1 is publishing without adding value. This is the most common and most dangerous mistake. Uploading a public domain work without any improvements or differentiation violates Amazon's guidelines and provides no value to readers. Amazon's algorithm and customers will punish you for this. Your books won't sell, you'll get negative reviews, and you risk account suspension. The solution here is simple. Always add meaningful value through annotations, illustrations, or translations. Make your version genuinely better than what's already available. Mistake number 2 is using content that isn't actually in the public domain. This is catastrophic. If you use copyrighted content thinking it's public domain, you're committing copyright infringement, which is grounds for immediate account termination and potential legal action. Copyright laws vary by country, and the rules are more complex than most people realize. Just because something seems old doesn't mean it's public domain. The solution here is to only use content from verified public domain sources and always double check the copyright status. When in doubt, don't use it. Mistake number 3 is an incorrect KDP setup. During the publishing process, there's a checkbox asking whether you hold the copyright or if it's a public domain work. Checking the wrong box is considered misrepresentation and can result in account suspension. If you check that you hold the copyright for a public domain work, that's false information. If you don't check the public domain box when you should, you're also providing incorrect information. The solution: always check the public domain box for public domain works and understand that this limits you to 35% royalties instead of 70%. The 4th mistake is ignoring country-specific copyright laws. Public domain status varies by country. Something that's public domain in the United States might still be under copyright in Canada, the UK, or other countries. If you're publishing globally through KDP, you need to ensure your content is public domain in all the countries where you're selling. The solution is to research the copyright status in your specific country and primary markets. When in doubt, consult the official sources I mentioned earlier, or seek legal advice. The bottom line is that public domain publishing isn't about taking shortcuts or copying other people's work. It's about taking timeless, proven content and making it better, more accessible, and more valuable for today's readers. The publishers making serious money with this strategy understand that they're not just selling books, they're selling experiences, solutions, and added value that readers can't get anywhere else. The key to success with this strategy is patience and quality. Don't rush to publish dozens of low-effort versions. Instead, choose a few works that genuinely excite you, ones where you can see clear opportunities to add meaningful value. Take time to understand your target audience, research what's already available, and identify the gaps. Then create something genuinely better, not just different, but actually superior to existing options. Remember, you're competing not just with other public domain publishers, but with every edition of these classics that's ever been published. Your version needs to stand out for all the right reasons. Every year, hundreds of new works enter the public domain, creating fresh opportunities for creative publishers who know how to spot them, and transform them into profitable products. If you're ready to explore this strategy, start small. Pick one classic work that you genuinely love, research its market demand, and brainstorm 3 different ways you could add meaningful value to it. Remember, the goal isn't to republish, it's to reimagine. If you found this video helpful and you want to learn more about building a profitable self-publishing business, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video, where we'll dive even deeper into advanced Amazon KDP strategy that can transform your publishing business.